All right, so Grant. So I'm continuing my research on marching band and what it is as an activity system. And one of the main things we've been going over this week is genres. And in the aspect of activity systems, genres are usually seen as forms of writing. And my biggest thing that I'm focusing on right now is how writing can be seen in terms of like within the marching band, or how marching band uses writing in its own way. So my first question would be, what do you feel is writing in marching band, or how do you see writing as a genre within marching band?
Writing as a genre or different genres of writing, because you can still relate back to the different genres of music. Sometimes we play rock music on the field. First show is Latin music. Our second show is um, like funk music from the 80s and 70s. And, the, there are definitely genres of music that everyone can understand. There's rock, hip hop, R&B, soul music, jazz music. There's a ton of different genres of music within our program that we all need to know and understand in order to communicate with each other.
Okay, so and feel like in understanding those different genres, how would you describe the writing of the music itself? So like, how would you describe like visualizing that music as writing, and how it could relate to expressing the meaning of that actual genre? So what I'm trying to get is like, how could like certain symbols on like music, like the music you're reading,
Okay.
like stuff like that, like the different factors of the writing itself.
Well, marcatos. There's marcatos, staccatos, and legatos that you can use within music to add different, like you could say, a different feeling to a note. We have a symbol to lengthen a note, a symbol to make a short, little soft note. We have symbols to make a hard attack, and all of those within the music kind of convey that genre. You wouldn't say smooth jazz has a lot of marcatos and heavy short notes, because it just doesn't fit in that genre. It's so those symbols that we use in music definitely define the genres.
Okay, so
that would be what we're reading.
So would you consider the writing within marching band to be the same as, say, that of an essay?
Oh, absolutely.
In what way would you consider it the same?
I would say, well, first of all, people study and train all their lives to, write a story as they do to write music. It's the same kind of idea. You start off with an idea of what what you want to convey. In the music, you can start with what we could say a plot, where you kind of have a bridge, and then you have a chorus, and you have these different components of a story that you're trying to tell ultimately. Because when you have instrumental music, you don't have words to tell the audience what you're trying to get across. You have sounds. So it's unique in that way, but you're still, constructing a story to tell somebody, and that's what people do in essays and, writing books and things
that's
like
good.
that.
So in what way would you see, like, because you're saying with, like, the fact that there's no words to really describe the meaning of, like, music, so in what way would you say that writing as music is different from writing as within an essay?
You're appealing to an entirely different sense of the body. I mean, when you're writing, you're using someone's sight to bestow emotion upon the reader. In music, you're creating sounds to make that person feel something. So that can you repeat the question for me?
So what do you feel are the differences between writing in the musical aspect and writing in like the essay form?
You have two different senses that you're appealing to, and you have to be a master of either of them to be good at what you do. That's the biggest difference.
So one of my main concepts again I'm going into is seeing writing in the musical aspect as like writing in the form of a genre sense. Would you say that writing in the musical aspect can still produce the same effect as normal writing within an essay? Do you feel like it could still evoke the emotions
Absolutely.
and everything else that comes with writing as an essay or just written text?
We have symphonies that are 58-minute long pieces of music that tell an entire story. And if you go to see a Broadway play, or if you ever have the pleasure to see a play where there's live music being played, the soundtrack from those plays very much so would invoke emotion, just as reading a book is. You know, if you sit down and read a fantastic book, you know, you feel for the people in the book, and it makes you share a commonality with something that doesn't necessarily have life, which would be the ink on the page. And in music, we have the emotion that you can give someone through an auditory sense, and it's very powerful, and in my opinion, more powerful than reading.
Okay, so with the marching band, there's obviously like the different sections and everything. So, do you feel that each section has their own kind of perspective of the show overall, considering they may have like different music from section to section?
Yes, I mean the sousaphones always kind of have this cool bass line kicking the whole time. So maybe to us, we think the song is a little more laid back, as opposed to, you know, the trumpet players or the saxophone players that have a lot going on. You know, they definitely think that the song is more aggressive as compared to, you know, someone else's perspective that's in a, you know, a more calm section, such as the sousaphone section or the baritone section.
So, do you feel that each section itself, musically and in like the genre sense, brings their own kind of voice to the band and like what they're trying to like produce like musically? Do you feel?
Yes, everyone. If everyone tried to play the exact same way, you wouldn't have a piece of music. There's, you know, things that need to be accentuated in the music. You know, there's the melody and then there's harmony. You know, so you need to have, obviously the melody and the harmony are going to be playing the music the exact same way, because it just wouldn't sound right. You know, you'd have overpowering. It's like if you were listening to a live band and the drum set's louder than the lead vocals. You know, it doesn't make sense. So you have to have different perspectives on the music. You know, the sousaphones and the baritones have, you know, they have to play softer as opposed to, you know, someone that's singing out the melody.
Okay, so one of the things we were like asked to do, and I asked you earlier, is to provide sort of an example. So I asked you to bring like your music, and I was wondering if you could like just really like show the camera real quick, like what the music of like an instrument actually looks like.
So this is the music for our first halftime show. It's called Malagueña, and you know we're on a selfie mode, so it's backwards to you right now, but normally we would read it this way. And if you can see on the lines, those are all different notes that musicians can read. And we have sharps and flats and ties and dynamics that are all part of it. So it's a very complex language, not necessarily a hard one to learn, but a hard one to master.
So could you explain, so I heard you mention those things like ties and the different flats and sharps. Could you explain those specific details of music and like the language aspect, like I said, in the genre form of writing and stuff like that?
A lot of emotion is implied in the English language just by the order of the words and maybe how the words come across. You know, to come across angry, you might, you know, you can capitalize words obviously, but just the word choices that you make can, you know, show emotion. But in music we have scales and different keys and sets of notes that people actually associate with different emotions and they don't even know it. And then we also have, you know, the accents, staccatos, and legatos that, you know, show the musician how we're supposed to play. You know, and then we have ties, and you can go on and on. There's thousands of, you know, different, you know, signs that we need to learn to read, and they all at the end just
kinda
show the
create
musician how to play the music, and the listener doesn't even understand what's going on behind, but that's our language that we are speaking.
Yeah, and that leads into the next point I'm trying to get at. How could you take something like that and try and explain it to someone who's on the outside who has no idea really what any of that means?
To begin to explain to someone music, you have to first let them understand that they know a lot more than they really think they do.
Mhm.
Yeah, all the time, it's the difference between it's the difference between happy music and there's obviously different music in a horror movie where the guy's coming up about to kill somebody as opposed to a cartoon where someone's prancing through the field. And people already associate those feelings with the music, and that's really to me the most important part. That the paramount aspect of music is the feeling that you bestow. And if you're going to teach someone about music, you first want to let them know that you can actually make someone feel something with the music that you're playing. So first you need to let them know. Then you go into how you can do that, which is there's different modes and scales and different, there's different sets of notes that you can use to make someone feel something.
Mhm.
And then obviously you dive into like the technical part of it, which is, the not so fun part of music. I guess you could say everything's fun,
The
but
reading.
the
more so
reading, yeah,
aspect.
the music fluency aspect of it.
Mhm.
But you need to start with a good basis that you need to let someone know why they are playing music, and that's to communicate with somebody.
So,
What's up, guys?
What's going on?
so you could say reading music is more so a lived genre as opposed to just actually reading it. You have to more so be a part of the music in order to understand what you're actually reading.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, that's sort of like what I'm trying to get into. I'm trying to like get into understanding how music can not only be read, but really how it affects marching band as an activity system and the different perspectives of how it's communicating with each section or how the whole band's communicating within the music itself and how what they bring to the table. So that's sort of what I'm going for. So in that sense, this kind of gives me an idea of what I'm looking at or what I could look into further. So I appreciate it.
Sure.
And
Anytime.
and again, I'll probably be having another interview soon and possibly have to look into other people. So if you let them know that I'm doing research on this, that'd be awesome. But
Cool.
I appreciate
I
it.
can
So
do that.
thank you, Grant.
All right, sure.